Hi there, it's Sam Kingma at Turnstyle, and welcome to Turnaround, an editorial series discussing the hot or otherwise peculiar topics surrounding the gaming industry. This week's Turnaround, PlayStation trophies, or Xbox achievements if you swing that way, no judgments here. Just what makes this metagame of video game completion addictive to so many people? How can a trophy list help or hurt an overall game experience? But perhaps most importantly, why do I have the Platinum and Cat Lateral Damage? The origins of the modern-day game achievements actually stem back further than you think. Before the video game crash of 1983, a studio you probably haven't heard of would include a short list of goals in the manual for many of their games, like reaching above a certain high score or finishing below a certain time threshold. If you were to beat that score or time and send them a photo of it, they would send you back a patch of the game with the logo on it, along with a letter for gassing up how radical at games you are. Unlike our digital trophies of today, these physical pieces of memorabilia have grown to gain quite a bit of real-world monetary value. I see them online going anywhere between $50 to $300 depending on the patch. There are also a handful of games from the late 90s and early 2000s that had a separate in-game achievement list that didn't impact the main game. For example, Insomniac Games' Spyro and Ratchet trilogies on the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 respectively, each feature skill points, which work the exact same way modern trophies do. Hell, when the Ratchet & Clank trilogy was ported to the PlayStation 3, the trophy list for those three games is the same as the skill point list, beat for beat. What makes the modern-day trophy and achievement systems different is that they exist and are tracked completely outside of the actual games you earn them in. Anytime you get a trophy or achievement, an arbitrary amount of points are added to your total achievement score or trophy level, depending on the platform. From a top-down perspective, I think this is really cool. Having a list of game objectives being recorded and tied to your account gives you and anyone else a look at your permanent gaming record, so to speak, of what you've played and beaten. While writing up this video, I took a look at my full trophy list for the first time in a while, and I did get a bit nostalgic as I reflected on games I haven't thought about since I was in college. That was my first real introduction to active trophy hunting. My first platinum, which is the trophy that signifies collection of all other trophies in the list, was Sly Cooper in the Thievius Raccoonus, a game I platinumed on PS2 numerous times without even knowing it. If you simply collect all the clue bottles, which you should be doing naturally anyways, you are guaranteed the platinum. There were a couple other free platinums like Rocket League that I also got, but it wasn't until I went out of my way to platinum Shovel Knight that I really saw how much fun a great trophy list can be. Now let me just say this, Shovel Knight might be my favorite game of all time, so needless to say I wanted to fully complete all of the feats, which are just an in-game reflection of the trophy list. What made the Shovel Knight feats so great is that they made you replay the game multiple times with different stipulations. Beat the game without ever touching a checkpoint, beat the game without sub-weapons, beat the game in under 90 minutes. That time attack run mined 5 new playthroughs alone, and it made replaying the Shovel of Hope campaign much more interesting and more fun to do than it already inherently was to begin with. After Shovel Knight, I was officially hooked on platinums. I then sent my trophy-seeking sights on other indie games I was a fan of or interested in playing through at the time, since they take less time than the big AAA releases. I got the platinum in Dust and Elysian Tale. Yeah, remember that game? It was developed by Humble Hearts, a small one-man team. While the game is arguably... no, it just is furry propaganda. The 2D hack-and-slash combat is really fun and kept me engaged through the whole playthrough. Funny enough, I don't know if y'all know this, but Humble Hearts actually did make a second game called Never Stop Sneaking back in February of 2018. I found out about it through the Steam queue back in the day. It's completely unlike Dust and is instead an indie parody of Metal Gear Solid 1, with a top-down perspective, low poly art and all. But what I find interesting about this game is that it completely fucking bombed. Personally, I find that you can get a good gauge of how successful a game is from Steam reviews, specifically from the actual number of total reviews written. Dust has a pretty incredible 12,300 plus reviews. Meanwhile, Never Stop Sneaking has just 26. Yikes. Sorry, I know this is a video about platinum trophies or whatever, but I've been thinking about this game and how nobody bought it for over 3 years now, and when else am I ever going to talk about Never Stop Sneaking? Anyways, Bastion, Transistor, yeah, those are games you've probably played. Supergiant's freshman and sophomore outings both have very fun trophy lists. I especially remember getting the trophies for scoring well in these side challenge arenas. Part of what makes trophy hunting additive to the game experience is that trophies can convince you to try and do extra side content that you might not otherwise have bothered with. In Transistor's case especially, these side areas were a perfect place to really see if you understood how the combat system works, and finding the most optimal way to defeat those encounters was, in some regards, more interesting than the linear campaign. Oh, and how could I almost forget the Gravity Rush Platinum on PlayStation Vita? What an incredible game that will definitely get its own full Turnstyle review one day. Yet again, Gravity Rush is another game that has a solid trophy list, mainly tied to in-game 100% completion, like getting gold medals in all of the mini-challenges throughout the open world, as well as defeating mini-bosses in some extra side areas. The main reason why lists like this work so well is that the trophy hunting aspect really takes a back seat to just trying to fully see a game's content to 100%, and I actually think that's great. If the game is fun, and in the cases I brought up thus far, they all are, completing it will be a great time regardless of any external reward you earn. Yeah, the allure of the Platinum Trophy pushed me to do the side content in Gravity Rush where I most likely would have just ignored it otherwise, but I'm glad I saw and completed that extra stuff as it made me feel more attached to the game as a whole. Where things get shitty with trophies though is when the tables are turned and the trophy list starts dictating the game experience. I noticed I first fell into this trap when I platinumed Teslagrad, a 2013 indie puzzle platformer. Its trophy list was pretty unique, as its trophies weren't tied to a level, boss, or puzzle completion, but instead tied to 36 separate scrolls which acted as nothing but bonus collectibles. I remember nothing from my time with this game other than I got mad and quit at the final boss, because, well, what do I care? I got the platinum already, right? This mindset was the beginning of the end. Oh yes, it's time to talk about Cat Lateral Damage. I spent $10 on Cat Lateral Damage for one reason and one reason alone. It had an easy platinum. This is how far into the depths I found myself quickly consumed in. For over 8 hours in my 16 by 12 foot college dorm room, there I sat, knocking over 20,000 objects for the sake of a blue and white digital medal. Now let it be known, I absolutely did get the Cat Lateral Damage Platinum, but once I got it, a sense of hollowness came over me, and I quit active hunting right then and there. It just wasn't fun anymore. It became less about the games and more about the act of completing a checklist. And if I wanted to do that, I'd just boot up any open world Ubisoft game. The problem with Platinums is that they're all inconsistent, and the quality of the experience ranges from game by game, developer by developer. Now I know from the story I just told you, my Platinum experience is limited to only a handful of fully Platinum games. So I asked a few longtime trophy hunters what some of their biggest trophy list pet peeves are. The main one they all complained about was trophies attached to multiplayer or online modes in general. The reason these trophies aren't much maligned is because these lists tend to have an arbitrary stats you need to meet or exceed, like win 100 matches or get 1,000 kills. Yeah, it's not really that hard, but when it's the last thing left on the checklist and you're not really in love with the game's multiplayer, then that multiplayer trophy will be a long, arduous grind. Not to mention, online games on consoles sadly don't last forever, and we're already seeing numerous platinums become unobtainable in certain games that feature multiplayer trophies because the servers are now down. Another issue heavily touted were replay trophies. It's one thing if a game has a robust New Game Plus system like Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, where in my opinion, New Game Plus is crucial to play for the full RNC experience, or a game like Shovel Knight that's 2.5 hours long and made to be really replayable from the outset. What they're referring to is the trophies locked behind difficulty options that are unselectable at the start of a 20 to 40 hour game, or games that require a replay that don't necessarily deserve one or actively make an effort to make replaying the game fun. And then you have trophies that are just downright broken or don't work. The reason I don't have all the Steam achievements in Remnant from the Ashes is because the defeat a world boss without taking damage achievement just will not pop for me, even though I've defeated Singe Damless 4 fucking times now. It's so frustrating. There are also issues with the greater trophy achievement meta. For one, you may have just realized I only now brought up Steam achievements. This is because Steam achievements can be so easily hacked and popped onto your account. They're just fundamentally less valuable than their harder to cheese console counterparts. The way Xbox does their achievements is with points, with games having a list of tasks worth a variety of points, but typically end up equaling 1,000 points per game. On Xbox, it all boils down to the total number of your gamer score. So why spend 150 hours getting 1,000 gamer score in, let's say, Dragon Quest XI's, when you could get 1,000 gamer score in Avatar: The Last Airbender in 30 minutes? The system is flawed because it values playing cheap, terrible, quick games with easy achievements to rack up the points as fast as possible. As mentioned earlier in the video, Sony uses a level system to represent your total score on PlayStation. This has its own problems, many similar to Xbox's. However, the culture in the PlayStation trophy hunting community isn't at all about your overall level, but specifically how many platinum trophies you have. I much prefer this, because it brings value to the platinum on a game-by-game basis. Sure, Returnal and Dust and Elysian Tales platinums are worth the same amount of points, but Returnal's platinum is certainly more coveted and respected, if that makes sense. But a lot of this is really just stupid semantics. Hell, I'd wager a part of the reason a lot of trophy lists suck are because the developers either don't really care or see them as integral to the game experience. And they aren't necessarily wrong for feeling that way either. Most games aren't, and obviously shouldn't, be designed with only trophy tasks in mind, and there are some games that just aren't a good fit for the current achievement systems of today. With that said, I encourage everyone to go back and try to get all the trophies or achievements in a game they really love. Chances are it'll give you a more complete and enriching look and experience than beelining the campaign or avoiding optional challenges. Except if that game is Lateral Damage Remastered. Are they really fucking doing this? Hey, thank you so much for watching our turnaround on PlayStation trophies and Xbox achievements. If you like these kinds of editorials and want to see more like them, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, as well as leave a comment to appease the YouTube elder gods. And in the meantime, check out some of our older content like reviews, guides, and other equally based gaming content. Until next time, this has been Sam Kingma. Take care.